Hello again. We're back, and it's a lovely, lovely Tuesday. No, it's not Tuesday. Yes, This is a 4-day thing. It's getting to me. It's Wednesday the 20th. So, today is a pretty straightforward day again. Quite similar to yesterday. In a nutshell, there's a couple of key things going on for me at the moment, chipping away at them. I think client-wise, this week's relatively quiet. Next week will be busy on the client front. But yeah, kind of a continuation of yesterday, really. As I alluded to, I'm happy with where the pipeline is at. No real movement on that since yesterday, which is fine. I think sometimes when you're waiting on people to come back to you, it seems like a longer time than it actually is. Well, I don't think I know that, but again, people are weighing things up and it's all good. What else? Yeah, it was so nice to be honest with you, it was nice yesterday just to have a day where, again, in contrast to maybe last week, a day where I just got my head down and did work without too many thoughts or distractions or whatever it might be. I just did the things I said I needed to do, did them really well, and that was that. And here we are today. So the main thing on my mind for today, which I thought was interesting, I spoke to someone yesterday who, it was a general intro, they're nothing to do with agencies, but they were a business owner, and they've been, I'd say, look, I don't know in terms of revenue, etc., but I would imagine they might be up there as one of the, I suppose, over a period of time, they're probably one of the larger or top performing business owners I've ever met in my life. And they, I suppose, a family friend, they've been doing different things for the last 20, 25, 30 years. I think over those years, I'm sure they've seen a lot and learned a lot. But what stood out to me was that they said something off the back of something that I brought up, which was, it reiterates to me the importance of doing what I do for people, which is that, what's obvious to me might not be obvious to someone else. And it doesn't matter particularly if it's someone with 30 years experience, 40 years experience, or someone with 5. So if you think of the things I see and the things I work with people on and the things that I experience and how I see things, there was something that I brought up in that conversation yesterday that clearly sparked an interest with that business person, to the point where they said, "Oh, I've never thought of it that way." Now, they could have just been saying that, but why would they? And his point then off the back of it was that it's why he has the coffees or the chats with people that, he doesn't necessarily need to. And this ties into something I talked about in a previous video, which is like the power of going for a coffee or having a catch up with someone that, you've got an intro to or that you haven't spoken to in a long time. The power of that is phenomenal because you just never know what's going to come up, and you never know how it's going to benefit you in this point in time based on where you're at. So for example, I thought about in the context of particularly those weeks where you're struggling yourself, or where a couple of things go wrong. It's amazing how often a conversation with someone, just a conversation with anyone, can really give you a bit of space to talk through things, or give someone else the opportunity to hear what you're saying and see if they can help you shed some light on some things. And again, I didn't go into that conversation yesterday with someone with 30, 40 years business experience thinking that I was going to be helping them, but I went into it knowing and recognizing that on the off chance there might be something that they pick up or hear from me that allows them to think about something in a different way. And for what it's worth, on the flip of that, there were a couple of things that come up yesterday that I thought were fantastic, and definitely one thing that I'm taking and applying to my own business from yesterday. But generally speaking, I think you can fall into a trap, and I do this myself, especially if you're in like a niche. So like say you're operating an agency in that does a certain thing, so maybe a more specialist agency, you can fall into a trap of thinking, okay, there's one way to do this, or there's the best way to do this, and there's a bad way to do this. But because there's usually so much overlap with businesses in general, and this will be one thing I hear from people a lot about these videos, is that they'll be running businesses that have nothing to do with advertising or agencies, but they can see the overlap sometimes in the things I talk about. So you might see that there's overlap between what someone talks about that runs a completely different business to you, that you can take and apply to your own company. So yeah, what's obvious to me might not be obvious to someone else, was my main point. And yeah, I think if you can take nothing else from this, it's that just take that as a mindset, like as a statement that, you know, it's fine, whatever about it, but take the mindset that you will have things. If we apply this to a couple of in a different scenario, for example, internally, say you're an agency owner, how do you do X? How to do X might be so simple and obvious to you that you're gobsmacked that you ever have to explain it more than twice or more than once. Two people in your business who might be really good at doing various things might just for some reason struggle with either your explanation of that thing or the actual execution of it. There will be many things that they're doing for you as an employee of your business that you will not understand as clearly as they do. So it might be obvious to them, might not be so obvious to you. So maybe just don't, you know, that's one example where you just can't take for granted that there will be things that within your own business that are not so obvious to you anymore because you're not in it, maybe the day-to-day as much. And then another example again is one that I just felt and can see every day. You might speak to someone that is half your age and they might just have a different perspective on something or a different way of doing something. And I think probably a lot of people have felt this. If you think about technology and how it's maybe influenced how we live and how we operate our businesses, there'll be people who are operating businesses now that are in their late teens, early 20s, and the way they're using technology or the way they're using certain tools and platforms will be so obvious to them, but we, maybe people in their 30s, might look at it the same way that maybe someone in their 40s and 50s now looks at how we use things 10 years ago, such as social media, to grow our businesses. So again, early days with Facebook ads, for example, incredibly cost-effective way to generate leads. Someone who's 10, 15 years older than me currently probably wouldn't even have considered that. There are lots of these examples where these things seem obvious to one group of people or one person, but it's not so obvious to someone else. And it's kind of up to both sides to recognize that and understand how they can help each other. So yeah, anyway, interesting thought. I feel like, yeah, again, for me, there's two things from this. One, the statement itself, it's more like a mindset thing. But two, then what do you actually do about it? Well, it's the action is meeting people for coffees or going for conversations or setting up calls or networking or sending a text to that person you haven't spoken to in a while. And I guess just putting yourself out there and being curious as well. So anyway, that was the general thought for the day. The rest of the day, pretty quiet to be honest. Jotted down a few things. Is there anything of interest here? Not so much. I said this. I think I said this yesterday. Yeah, I think I said this yesterday. I'm like, when I stand up and do these videos, I must not breathe properly or something. But I feel kind of out of breath again. Maybe I just need to do more exercise. Who knows? But that's about it for today. Back tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to talk about pipeline, I think, tomorrow, which should be interesting. I'm by no means a salesperson / BD expert, but specifically in relation to agencies, I think it's kind of an interesting one. And again, I think you should be able to take the points from that and apply it to your own business, regardless of what it is. Because I just have a very general view in this. Like I don't have a system or a method that will guarantee you getting leads into your funnel, etc. But anyway, that's it for today. Need to get my head down and do more work.